Hi, Effort. Hi, everyone. Thank
Hello,
you for
everyone.
joining us today. And we're going to look at something today. We're going to look at something called disappointment. And let's just see what comes up. When we do the clearings, first of all, if this is the first video of us that you've watched, if you want to learn more about who we are and what we do, there is a link below with a video describing just that, talking about that. When we do the clearing, this revealing, we use XMR and we say that quite a lot. And that means we extract and release. So we gather information energetically and then we extract and release it XMR. So it can make room for a new reality to form. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If there's anything you want us to explain more or anything you want us to focus on. But today, like I mentioned before, we're going to talk about disappointment. If there's anything you want to start with?
Yeah, disappointment happens when we had an expectation that the reality would look one way and it happens a different way. And when we're fixed on what we want it to be, it's okay to expect, it's okay to want one thing. But once the reality brings us something different, if we're keep on being fixated on the original plan, then we feel a lot of disappointment and sometimes we could be stuck there. Now, there's nothing wrong with disappointment. Like we say in every video, every emotion is for us. It just shows us where we are, what we want, what we need, and it's a compass. It's every feeling is a compass, and it just shows us that we're missing something, and we can use this for us. We can use everything that comes up for us to help us guide to what we want, to help us find a new direction. As long as we're not stuck there, as long as we're not fixated there, it's something helpful. It gives us a map. So first of all, everything that brings up, and everything disappointment brings up, and everything that we resist the disappointment that comes up, and that we resist the reality, the current reality, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm disappointed. I wanted something else. What did I want?" And to use this to have more clarity, do we want to extract and release all that?
Yes.
XNR, 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 and so it is.
Hmm. Yeah, when I think of disappointment, there's the not wanting to disappoint others. If others have expectations of me, but also not wanting to disappoint myself. And if I experience disappointment, then that potentially could change how I view myself. So everything that allows disappointment to change our view of reality, to change our view of ourselves, are we willing to let go of?
Yes, definitely.
So we extract and release all of that. XNR, 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 and so it is.
Perfect.
Mm.
I'd like to add that first of all, I love your view of disappointment. We each took it to a different direction, so I love that when that happens, we have a bigger picture of everything. And I know that when I feel disappointed, sometimes it becomes a much bigger thing, like a little disappointment, and then we add to it so many other I'll call it negative feelings. Yes, like all of a sudden, like we were disappointed from this and from this and then from this, and nothing is going right, and I'm not doing like what I want, and I'm a failure, and we could do it, take it like to a big dramatic place. Okay, and we don't want that. We want the disappointment to just be a disappointment, to show us, to have more clarity what right now we would like from ourselves, from others, from reality, and to not make such a big drama out of it, and to just take use this, just this, look just at this, and not and make it a bigger thing. So everything that makes it into a big drama, and everything that we make it much more than it is, and everything that brings up, we want to extract and release all that.
Yes.
XNR, 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 and so it is.
I could really relate to what you said because it's often, it could be a disappointment of a little thing, but it can remind us of this time that we were disappointed about this or that, and when we were in preschool or whenever that was, and we're not even aware of that. But then all those little disappointments or big disappointments or little failures or big failures all get added onto that. And all of a sudden, there's this huge thing that we can't ignore, and often we can't function because we're so consumed with this feeling that just is so overwhelming, and we find it hard to function. So everything that this mechanism or this pattern of adding all the memories of other disappointments, of other failures to whatever happened right here and now, and everything that's preventing us from seeing what it is. Yeah, it's okay to experience disappointment, but seeing it for what it is, as opposed to letting it, grow to this gigantic size because all these other things get added onto it automatically. Are we willing to extract and release?
Yes.
XNR, so it is.
And I thought what else we could do with this is see this disappointment. If we don't resist reality, if we're not stuck on making a big thing out of it and adding so much more oil to the fire, if we just look at this and start being in question, okay, are there other things I can do right now? Is there something I can learn from this? If we use this to ask questions, sometimes this thing that happened in reality, it's first of all, it's always for us. Even if this contrast seems like it's not something we want, many times these are the places that we grow the most. And if we start asking questions, okay, so this didn't work the way I thought it would. What can I do different? What would make me feel better? And we could actually start asking questions that will change the reality. But when we resist the reality, when we're stuck on the disappointment, when many times it even becomes anger and bigger, instead of just being an allowance to what happened and asking questions, it changes everything. So everything that doesn't allow us to ask questions of what we could do different and what's the present in this. And sometimes when we ask these questions, all of a sudden we run into this YouTube video which gives us an idea, or a friend all of a sudden comes to us with something. It comes. The universe knows how to bring to us everything when we ask. So everything that doesn't allow us to be asking and in question, and everything that resists what's happening, and everything that again is stuck there. Do we want to extract and release all that?
Yes.
XNR, and so it is.
When we experience disappointment, there'll be a really nice exercise to actually speak to, this inner dialogue. Experience it from a different point of view. Pretend that we are our own best friend, or that we are having a chat with our best friend, and how would we react to that situation if they told us about their disappointment? What would we say? Come with compassion. And maybe inquire within, is it really as bad as I think? What does it actually mean? And mistakes do happen, or essentially it wasn't a mistake, but can anything good come out of it? Were my intentions good? Just inquire, as opposed to going into disappointment and potentially blame or anger, and see how that feels for you. Everything preventing you from being your own best friend and wanting to extract and release.
Definitely.
XNR, and so it is.
And this is perfect timing when there's disappointment. In disappointment, there's less resistance than in many other negative feelings like rage and a lot of other things. Disappointment there's a little bit of sadness there, and it's okay. Things are still okay usually. Now, we could use this opportunity many times when other people were disappointed from us, or when we were disappointed, we took it to places that we blamed ourselves, we blamed other people, and we could actually use this time to have self-love, to give ourselves the hug, to respond to ourselves the way we would have wanted our parents to have responded to us when we were children. When something didn't go like we wanted, we would have wanted them to hug and to say, oh, you really wanted this, you're very disappointed. And when we give it to ourselves, it's the best gift ever. We could actually use this opportunity to start giving ourselves like a virtual hug and all the empathy we always wanted and never received. And this is kind of reprogramming our subconscious minds. So everything that doesn't allow us to hug ourselves there, to give ourselves empathy there, to talk to ourselves like we are a little child who's disappointed, and how we would have wanted to be spoken to, and how we would speak to our children. Do we want to extract and release all that?
Yes.
XNR, 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 and so it is.
Disappointment is not a very, pleasant feeling to experience, and often you've touched on that. Often we may feel disappointment, and it's not a very pleasant feeling. And then we start looking for things outside of ourselves, the scenario, the situation, the people that were involved, and we start blaming them. If only that person didn't react that way, if only that person wasn't, if they weren't there at that time, then this wouldn't happen, and then I wouldn't be disappointed. And then we actually leave, looking in, like LEAVE, we're not there anymore for actually exploring how we feel. We go outward, and then we see how we can change the reality so we don't feel this emotion anymore, as opposed to actually fully experiencing it and giving it, like you said, the empathy, the love, the compassion, understanding where we came from, understanding that we're not perfect, and understanding that, even learning the lesson of maybe in these situations, if I knew myself better, I would know that I should have done this instead, and maybe next time I will. And there is so much learning there. But when we go into blame, or when we go into trying to control what happens outside of us, that's when we don't actually process the emotion properly. So everything that, because we don't want to experience it, everything that takes us outside of ourselves, as opposed to being present with how we feel and process it, especially in this case, disappointment, are we willing to extract and release?
Definitely.
XNR, 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 and so it is.
Yeah, and I love everything you just said. And it made me think of, like, again, dividing disappointment to two different categories: disappointment from ourselves and disappointment from others, and disappointment from reality. So it's actually three different categories. But if we do like you said, then we can actually think where we can change something. We can't really change reality, but we can change how we feel about it, and we can change what we do. So if we're disappointed, for example, that someone is always late, or doesn't say what we want, or doesn't want to come with us to a certain event, or anything of the sort, we can find a different solution once we're not stuck on the disappointment. For example, we see that there's someone that always rejects us when we offer something, then we could say, okay, so obviously there's a pattern here. And we could start offering different people and not be fixated on that person for this activity. Or if we're disappointed, anyway, we could use this to shift things, what we can change with ourselves, what's in our control, that we can make a different reality and stop being constantly disappointed from certain people or from certain things. We can learn from this to change. Like if there's something, to go to bypass it, to find a different solution, to bypass whatever usually makes us disappointed, to find a way around it. So everything that brings up, and everything that doesn't allow that, do we want to extract and release all that?
Yes.
XNR, 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 and so it is.
So feeling disappointed and processing that is great. But how amazing would it be if we can actually learn to recognize 2 steps ahead before we're about to feel that disappointment, and know how to dodge it? That'll be great too. So anything preventing us from recognizing it before we actually feel it, and avoiding it, if not avoiding it once we feel it because we want to process it, but avoiding the whole situation altogether. So everything preventing us from recognizing that moment, are we willing to extract and release?
Yes.
XNR, 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 so it is.
Perfect.
I think we've done quite a few clearings here on disappointment.
Yeah, very good ones. And if you have questions, comments, if you'd like us to elaborate on something else, then feel free to leave comments. We always would love to read them and respond and make more videos to go deeper into certain things. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe.
And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.